I mean, with all the fragmentation just comes things in so many different places, right? I mean, I think we're at this stage, right, kind of in time where we have all these great services and applications, and now this, the new LLMs, and we've already had all this AI and all these great apps and services. But like, they are fragmented, right? And they're all disconnected. There's 100 messaging apps, so many different email providers, all these different things in just different places. And so I have to go to all these apps to manage them, and I have to manage them myself. I love constantly learning, but sometimes there's just like these core things that it seems like we need, right? Like everybody needs access to their notes and to their data, and everybody's getting messages and emails. People have finances, right? And things like that to either worry about or, try and get a hold on or master, right? And so the big thing that we're building here is an interface, right, into this concept of all these services coming together. So we're aggregating all of these things together, all your emails and notes and apps and services and finance, and we're putting them inside of a single interface called Butterfly. And then, we're using some of these new LLMs and AI and tools and things like that to be able to talk to all these services and view them and help you manage them all in one place. So that's what we're excited about. We have DAIN platform, which is a network and a platform for building agents and deploying them and hosting them. Then we have Butterfly, which is the interface for being able to interact with them.
Hey everybody, we have got Dealflow Founders podcast here, and across the next hour or so, I'm going to sit down with Donny. So Donny is the CEO and founder of Dane, and we're going to be diving today into learning a little bit more around what he's building, and actually more so around Donny as a person. So I don't know if you know this is coming for you, Donny, but we're actually going to be learning more about you as a person, because the idea behind sort of these Dealflow Founders podcasts is that I realize that there's so many tech bros out there, and they're like diving head first, hardcore into the tech. And to be quite honest, nobody really cares about the tech. Like everyone just wants something that works. In email, you don't care how the email works behind the scenes. So I feel like the idea behind these Dealflow Founders podcasts is that people can like relate to you, understand your story, be inspired, and like look forward to what you're building. So I hope like that's the fundamental for today is to learn around what you're building, your journey, and hopefully inspire some other people to jump on board, try Dane, and learn more about that. But anyway, I'm really excited to be here today with Donny, the man, the myth, the legend, the guy that's been building in stealth for a very long time. So it's a pleasure to have you here today, Donny.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Cool. Well, anyway, I want to just like pull it back to where we literally just started off a minute ago. So last night I was thinking about what you're building there with Dane, and you just mentioned that it's a thing that we can have. So everything everything at the moment is very fragmented, right? And so what you're building there in Dane is like the one-stop shop app, network, memory, infrastructure, everything. Like what are you building, and why should anybody really pay attention to it?
Yeah, I mean, getting into a little bit of kind of the problems we just discussed. I mean, with all the fragmentation just comes things in so many different places, right? I mean, I think we're at this stage, right, kind of in time where we have all these great services and applications, and now this, the new LLMs, and we've already had all this AI and all these great apps and services. But like, they are fragmented, right? And they're all disconnected. There's 100 messaging apps, so many different email providers, all these different things in just different places. And so I have to go to all these apps to manage them, and I have to manage them myself. And I'm not an expert, right, at like all of them or even most of them. And so, you always have to learn how to use an app, and you're not sure whether it's maybe going to be good enough, right, to live past 30 days or a year or something like that. And, I love constantly learning, but sometimes there's just like these core things that it seems like we need, right? Like everybody needs access to their notes and to their data, and everybody's getting messages and emails.
Mm.
People have finances, right, and things like that, to either worry about or try and get a hold on or master, right? And so like the big thing that we're building here is an interface right into this concept of all these services coming together. So we're aggregating all of these things together, all your emails and notes and apps and services and finance, and we're putting them inside of a single interface called Butterfly. And then, we're using some of these new LLMs and AI and tools and things like that to be able to talk to all these services and view them and help you manage them all in one place. So that's what we're excited about. We have Dane, the platform, which
Mm-hmm.
is a network and a platform for building agents and deploying them and hosting them. And then we have Butterfly, which is the interface for being able to interact with them. So it's almost, if you think about like if you had ChatGPT, Claude, all the cool AI tools, and then you had Amazon Marketplace and Vercel, and you smash them all together inside of a beautiful interface, and then you have Dane Butterfly.
That's insane. So wait, is Butterfly going to be like a single app that I would download from the App Store? Is that right? Is that how I would get access to it, or how does that sort of work?
Yeah, so it's going to start off in the browser, just because
Mm-hmm.
it's the easiest kind of multi-platform way to be able to, distribute and get things in the hands of users. Ideally, we do have some actually native versions, kind of a desktop and mobile app. But to at least kick things off and kind of test things out, we're going to predominantly be starting with the browser-based version.
So I would go to the browser and I would like connect up my Telegram, my Facebook Messenger, whatever else I use for my like Google, my Google accounts, and then I could also connect my TikTok, my Instagram, all of that. Am I pushing this too far, or like what would I go in there and use Butterfly as? Like for me, a consumer, like how would I interact with it initially?
Yeah, so starting out, you're going to be able to, connect your Gmails and your Outlooks, popular email accounts and social accounts and messengers, right? Starting with a few and then just expanding from there. The other kind of core set of features, if you will be like DeFi, decentralized finance, right? So you can kind of hook up some of your accounts, including tokens, and we'll be hooking up fiat accounts too. And so you'll have this kind of like, this messenger and email area for all of your docs, your knowledge and messages and things like that. And then kind of access to your finance and investments and things like that. And then you can kind of like interact with it and use it right after you just connect those tools and you can go to town. You can start asking it questions. You can just say do this, right? You can say invest in this. You can say show me all my leads maybe that are coming in to my email or all my messages for my family. It'll help you prioritize things and all kinds of cool stuff.
So that's cool. So you kind of go like a personal funnel. Like if you think about your personal life, you've got your finances, you've got your friends and family, your messaging services, you've got your entertainment and kind of thing. But at the moment, you're saying it's super fragmented. It's all coming from these different services or different providers. But if you go through to what you guys are building there with Dane and Butterfly, it's kind of like Butterfly is the funnel that sucks everything in. You just go straight to this one portal, and I can like go across my all of my different services. Right? That's what we're dealing with.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've wanted too for a long time, right? Like, I really want like everybody to have this actual useful assistant. Like if everybody had like an executive assistant that could help them out with all kinds of things. But what I was a little surprised with is that because a lot of the models and different AI tools and things like that have become so advanced, we're also aggregating and being able to use all those too, right? So now we don't only just have kind of this concept of assistants helping us out, we kind of have this access now to like experts, right? Or what some are calling like PhD level experts.
Yeah.
So that's pretty
I was
crazy.
I was watching a podcast the other day around the founder of Replit, and he was saying, I think it was in 1 year time, everybody is going to be at PhD level. So it now changes, like the knowledge is out there and the access to knowledge is accessible to anybody that has access to the internet connection or to a language model. So like, how do you see the moving forward? Like, how are we going to define, like everyone thinks that AI is going to be replacing us, and because it's getting so smart and getting so advanced and we're all turning into prompt monkeys. But like, how can people not be afraid of AI and use AI to like be more integrated with their life? Because I think with what everyone is, even just talking with my dad and stuff at the moment, like they're curious around AI, but they need to take that next step or jump into being like using it every single day to having it as their like assistant. How do you see that change, like that transition happening?
Yeah, I mean, I think how I see it happening, and I've heard at this point, I think many others kind of echo or mention the same types of things. And that's just kind of like with the onset of all this new technology, as crazy it may seem or sound, whether or not we're in a little bit kind of in a slowdown, if you would, right now. Like, we're not seeing like exponential potentially gains, like every month or 6 months, at least not at the moment. But like, I see it really like replacing all the stuff that like nobody wants to do, right? At
Mm.
least not really. But anytime I think something like that happens, right, new tech, industrialization, something like that, like it creates all these other jobs, right? I think someone mentioned the other day, like, or even could have been Sam Altman, said something about like we're all just going to be having moon jobs or working in space or something, right? But it's just going to go, I think, to a next level, and it's going to free us up to do much more interesting things, and we'll be like managing and playing with these AIs, and I think it'll be more like augmentation and then automating tasks that we don't want to do, but there's still going to be oversight.
Yeah, for sure. I think that also when we look at the where we are at the moment with AI and AI agents and how it's just becoming slowly more integrated within our lives. If we think about, I don't know, 10 years ago, how old when Microsoft Suite came out and it was a skill to be able to use Excel and Microsoft Word, and that was a skill. I think moving forward in the future, that having the skill to be able to prompt and use AI agents or multi-agent systems, that's going to be like the new level of, I don't know, skill set that people are going to be putting on their CVs, right?
Yeah, I mean, I really think so, right? I kind of thought the same thing, even when Netscape and Google and all these things came out, right? Like, if you knew how to like search and just use that, it was almost like a superpower, right? And I think it's the same thing with these, models and LLMs and people that figure out how to just like, even just like the vibe coding, right? And like people that gain that skill and power, you can just kind of like prototype some really cool shit, and you can just kind of take it from there. I think it's if you're just really motivated and interested in learning things, like there's always going to be like jobs and places like for people like that. I think there's just, it's going to separate the people that want to do stuff and maybe don't a little more.
I have been amazed at the progression of AI over the past year. So I'm a process engineer is like my background, and a big thing for me of wanting to then like come forward and actually create like apps and make digital products online. A massive barrier for me to get over has always been coding, because I mean it's just a whole other language, it's gibberish, it's not how my brain works. The coding is just always siloed it separate. But since vibe coding and since I've like gotten into it more and more, it has like consistently blown my mind how cool it is. Because for the first time, I am able to take my ideas and actually like visualize them into something that is like I'm actually able to see my ideas on my screen. So is Dane butterfly? I'm just wanting to like separate the two. So if I was to come in there and to use it, am I building on Dane? Am I building on butterfly? Can you just like separate those two very specifically for me? Because I always get confused.
Yeah, so it is like two big things in parallel, right? With Dane is the platform and the network, and you know what that means is like the SDKs and the tools and the actual network that you might deploy, build, and host these agents on, and that we basically massively help do for you, right? So it's almost like if you had this little console like ChatGPT, and you're just like, hey, build me an agent that can connect to Gmail and then to Excel, and then go ahead and create a little report and send it to my back office or something. And then you would actually just like prompt something like that, And in theory, right, it'll sit there and hook it up and deploy it, and you'll just have a service out there that you can use on the network. And if you want, you could monetize it. And that's kind of where the Dane and the platform aspect comes in. And so things like that are already possible. And then we have Butterfly, which is like our own and custom and kind of, if you would, a super powered interface where we're really kind of pushing the limits and exploring what's possible with UX and these new interfaces, and this way being able to interact with the network. So we have this concept called blueprints, which is like device configuration for agents. And then along with a service SDK for Dane. Basically, what that allows us to do is have these services and agents be able to, it's a standard where they can create configurations and specifications that could like launch an interface or a service or something like that into the network and any device. So we're playing with that in Butterfly to the point now where we can like render entire UIs. You can chat with your email. We can render any email system or say real-time charts or graphs or reports or things like that. And you can use voice commands to go ahead and do the same types of things as well. So we have like a truly multimodal app, right? That we're like setting up so that potentially, someday soon we might create like a client SDK so that other folks could do it. But we're really trying to be one of the first that can have this like truly multimodal interface that's truly dynamic and able to kind of be generated. But we have this layer where we're really trying to have it consistently, right, generated. Because I think if it was just randomly generated, like a lot of the stuff is right now, that would be a little bit confusing for people.
Yeah, I think at the moment everyone is experimenting, not everybody, but a lot of people in the space are experimenting with AI. Do you think like what you're building there with Dane and Butterfly, that everyone is going to become super automated, that maybe 5 years down the road we're going to be craving back like some more human interaction, some more human touch, because everything is going to be so robotic? Or do you think that we're going to lean into the skid and just like we're going to let these robots or like AI sort of look after ourselves and we can just go outside and touch more grass?
I think it depends on the person, right? Like, is anything going to stop you from touching grass, so to speak, right? Like, probably not. But I think people that are more into like hanging out and hermiting and being online, and maybe they'll have their little bots, they play with or something, or droids and stuff, and maybe everybody will have them, but I think some people will like use them more for like help around the house, and other people, will be having relationships with them or something. So,
Yeah. Okay, wait, I want to know a question to you. Would you create? So I've been playing around with HeyGen at the moment, which is one of the most
cool.
popular AI avatar
Yeah.
generators. So for anybody that doesn't know, you can pretty much take a picture of yourself or a text prompt and turn yourself into a double digital, either like animated or something that looks really very much like yourself. So I've been doing a lot of online, just seeing how people were using these AI avatars and double digitals, and people were like creating a double replica of themselves and having that online, and then people around the world will pay per minute to speak to this double replica. Is that something that I can build on Dame, like a replica of myself, and charge people to speak to me like per minute?
Yeah,
What do
well,
you
so
think?
most people don't know this, but only droids, might be a thing, right, in the future. Yeah, I mean, something like that, right, is definitely possible. The idea is if we're going to collect habits and knowledge bases and data and all these things, right? At your discretion, if that's the kind of thing that you're wanting, like the clone, right? For example, and you're like, hey, I want to basically clone myself and put myself as interactive across your services, right? So whether it's like, the OnlyFans for your clone, or just a podcast, or YouTube and Twitter and TikTok, and all the things that you've mentioned, right? Or maybe even your blog posts, or like you kind of literally do that. And it's definitely possible, like right now, even as Hey Jen is showing. It's just more about hooking it up, right, and putting the pieces
Mm.
together, which is kind of like this But that's called like interop, right? Like how do you have all these services talk to each other, right? And who's like actually doing that? Before people have, but it's taken a lot of work. It's tedious. It's the maintenance is difficult, complex, and then how do you scale that? It's really hard, right? You have platforms like Zapier and Make and things like that, where you can like build these things and make some really cool stuff, but they're it's a super learning curve. It's super tedious. You really have to get into it and kind of become a pro with it, right? And
Mm.
then a lot of those people offer solutions to other folks, and like our goal is to make that happen in like a snap of your fingers, right? That you can just say like, hey, this is what I want, and it just creates it for you, and you're like, oh cool, neat service. Like, do you want to monetize that? And then put it in the marketplace, and there you go.
That's cool. So you're actually also building a marketplace where individuals can come in and they can build their own or use a prompt, like a voice activated prompt to build whatever they want to automate something. And then say if I build my own specific AI agent that is for me managing relationships in the Web3 area. So I can train my agent on that and I can put that in the marketplace and then I can advertise to other people who might be wanting these like my knowledge or my skills and they can come in and transact with that. Is that what you're talking like? So everybody can monetize their own multi-agent systems on the platform. Is that how that works? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, 100%. Everything is just inputs, processing, and outputs when it comes down to it, right? So we're gonna interact with every input. Yeah, I don't care if you want to say it, if you want to type it, if you want to click the UI, if you want to upload it, whatever you want to do. And the idea is we're just going to turn that into something that you can monetize. So, and that's just connecting services and making it accessible, right? So, snap.
Very good. So how much longer do we have to wait for this? Version 1, version 2 coming out soon?
Yeah, so we're planning on launching some early testing in September. So we're probably gonna bring together, just some people that are really interested in this space and the things that you just described too. Like, what does that look like? What does that feel like? How do we interact with this to kind of help start to iterate on and shape the product future here for something like that? So pretty exciting to get to this point. And then I think through the remainder of the year, we're just going to scope out an official launch date.
That's super exciting because I know that you've already hosted a few hackathons at UCLA. So, and I also know that you have been building in stealth for a very long time. So, I want to know two things like, why have you been building in stealth? For me, I think that makes it harder for you, but also maybe it's allowing you to be more focused because you don't have so much noise. You're just like doing what you're doing. But yeah, why did you decide to build in South? And how did your first hackathon go? I want to know both about those two questions.
Yeah, I mean, so I'd say less maybe stealth too intentionally and a little bit mixed because obviously, right, we did do the hackathons. We talk a little bit about it, but like I think, yeah, what is meant is we haven't been like very loud about it. I think one of the reasons for that too is just because all this stuff is so new, right? People aren't
Mm,
very familiar with it. So getting people and recruiting people to figure out like what to say and how to convey this, especially since it's what we're building is like this massive infrastructure and a huge scope, right? That we're it's constantly being iterated on, and we've had many versions, kind of like you alluded to, that have come out. We've had the things like Dane Trader. We have had
mm-hmm.
some iterations of Butterfly and the platform, and even through the hackathon, that was a lot of early like collecting feedback, right, on this infrastructure, the deployment process. We've changed the languages and the standards and configuration that you build and deploy these things in. And the interface has changed too, and adding so many models now and iterating and already catching up. And now we're at the point, right, where we have this capability of the dynamic interfaces, right, that these agents and services can create. We've capitalized on a lot of the gen stuff, but also being able to be consistent, right, with the interfaces, which you don't really see much right now. It's not completely random every time it comes out. It's like consistent every time. We added things like human in a loop. Like there's just so many pieces that
Mm.
come together, right? It's just like building Amazon infrastructure almost, if you will, but with all these other tools and AI and an interface, kind of all at once. So it's been a lot to tackle. And so that's like one of the reasons, right, that we just, haven't been as loud about it yet. Also different parts of like things that are changing so fast that like, things that we've shown 1 week are just completely, changed in like the next 2 months. So really happy with where we're at right now though, and really excited to kind of get some testing in on what we feel like will be a very solid base to go ahead and start from, bring testers and iterate from. That said, the hackathon, right, like a few of them that we've been to now, people were really excited about it. And there was
Mm.
lots of other platforms showing up there and people building on. And, people were excited enough to choose and build on the platform and experiment with it and see how they could, kind of rapidly build these agents, deploy them and see them inside of the first, right, test interface and flagship interface, Butterfly. And we had all kinds of things, people making medical apps and kind of radio DJ apps. So like anything from entertainment, medical and health, to travel, crypto, right? Kind of the whole like spectrum, because the kind of cool part about everything is you can connect anything to it, any
Mm.
service, any database, and you can interact with it. So people are coming up with all kinds of cool ideas.
Yeah, but the thing that you just said is, I feel at the moment in the whole entire agentic space is that the possibilities are limitless, and that's what makes it too
It's a
big.
problem, huh?
It
Yeah.
is the problem because it's kind of like when you get a possum in headlights and they just sort of freeze and they're like, oh my God, I don't know what to do because there's AI here and it can do everything. And now I don't know what I want it to do. So, how do you like educate people to go from even the understanding of like what is an app on their app phone? I think most people are familiar with like going to an app store and downloading
Mhm.
an app. Okay, cool. And the app is like maybe a fitness app, a nutrition app, or whatever you want it to be, right? Whatever you're into. And then to transition now is going into like agent. And then you put agentic apps together as well. So it's like, how do you go around winning people's trust to like this go to market strategy that you're going to be tackling to convert the mass population that agents are the new app?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how it's worked out actually on that note. On one hand, we were you basically it's right stealth, right? Like we just haven't been too loud, haven't been saying too much. We have, just started to put some more narrative out there, and some messaging and things like that. One of the big challenges, even like with narrative and messaging, copy, stuff like that, is just like how do you talk about these things and what do you say?
Mm.
I think the cool part about what has happened now in the last year, everybody else has been doing it for us.
You just come out with a better product.
Yeah, I mean, like, even from OpenAI and Claude and doing all this great, like, Claude ended up coming out with MCP, which is what we already had, but we have
Mm,
something better, in a way, right? So because we hook up authentication and payments and all these multi-integrated protocols and services to it, out of the box, right? So like,
mm,
and we were like, oh, they just launched MCP, but like, wait, this is actually really great. Now people and developers and businesses are not educated on this concept of like what this means, how you hook things up and work together. And now people are integrating and building MCPs, right? Which we'll be
mm,
compatible with. So they did that job for us. And OpenAI and everybody else, ChatGPT, right? It's like who's not using that? And oh,
mm.
how do I interact with these things and talk to AI and how can it benefit me? And like we've incorporated that as well. So like by the time people start to open these things up, they'll be familiar, right, with a lot of it, talking to it, chatting with it,
Mhm,
clicking on
mhm.
things. And I think that has actually helped out a lot.
I think what you're just saying is, coining a new term is second mover's advantage because everyone always talks about first mover's advantage. You know, I'm the first person to create A, B, C, D. But you're saying that these bigger players have already set the landscape, and you're just coming in, taking the best bits from all of them and putting it together in one single easy to use solution, because you've seen how difficult it is, or you've experienced the problems yourself. I'm assuming this is what is like the fuel and the fire behind you wanting to go all in on this whole entire development, is there was nothing that you were quite satisfied with. Is that sort of the foundations of why you kicked off this whole entire journey?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. It's we saw this early that like it's the same reason we didn't build our own foundation model, right? It's just like we looked at the landscape, we stepped back, and we do it, all the time, actually, right? We're just super aware of what's going on, and we're like, how can we best leverage our skills and experience, but like also, what do we really want to build? And we only really want to build what we actually have to. At the time, there was no MCP, right? There was nothing remotely
Mm.
close. Like everything was not very good. So we built our own. And now it's out, but like ours is still better. It's just, we don't have it distributed, right? But
Yeah, I think I've seen you over the last year. I keep seeing you like tools. You're like, that one's shit, that one's rubbish, that one's just a tool wrapped up in something else. So I'm very excited to get my own hands on and to try this and what you guys are building, because it's like I said, there's even when I've been testing out with lots of different AI agents out there, there hasn't been one single provider that can do everything. You sort of have to jump and chop and change around whatever it is doing. So to have something that is like unified would be super exciting. So keep going and let me know. I want to get on that wait list when it's ready. But anyway, I want to also we've kind of been talking a little bit about Dane and Butterfly and what you're building, but I know that you've been in the space since 2020. So you're an OG in the whole entire crypto Web3 space. I want to know a little bit more around you, your background. Are you like a software engineer, or are you a techie person, or how did you discover blockchain in the first place back in 2010? It's one of the OGs.
yeah, so I mean, just as a kind of a, I guess, techie or software background, right? Like I grew up programming as a kid, and building games. I ended up, through just odd circumstances at some point, being across the street from a Microsoft VP. And I was just really curious about stuff, I think is the biggest thing. And I just found things to focus on. And that was started building apps and building games. And then eventually I was like actually building kind of full blown apps. And then I've, probably played with all kinds of different technologies. And I even was early Visual Basic because it was just cool, interesting ways to do stuff with GUIs and make business apps and things. And then websites, more games. And then I got into contracting, pretty early on for the same types of things. And then, yeah, I've done everything, I guess, from messing with different entertainment to banking and finances and healthcare, and worked on all kinds of standards and platforms. And, during kind of the banking period is when I kind of discovered and rediscovered blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I just started playing with all the fun stuff and the platforms, and I was like, I mean, this is just another hot thing. There's something here, right? So, like, I was part of the mobile boom, the web boom, and I just always love new trends and tech and stuff like that. And I was just like, I didn't know exactly what it was going to be, other than potentially the future of finance, which is still really big. And I was always looking for more as part of it, which we're incorporating aspects of as well. But like, I was pretty much all in as soon as I found out, and then also got into Ethereum after Bitcoin, and EVM and EVM contracts. And then I always keeping my eye on stuff, ended up eventually after years, right? And many other blockchains, finding Solana. And then, it wasn't really ready for me yet at the time. And then I revisited it not too many months later, and I was just like, it's ready, like it's here. And I just kind of started building and doing my own thing on it, and just kind of everything took off from there in terms of background and initial journey into blockchain.
Why did you choose Solana over like pivot, I guess you could say, to into Solana so heavy. Even you now go by Donny Solana, like that, super maxi. So what was it about the Solana ecosystem, or that you decided to, like you went Bitcoin, you went Ethereum and EVM, and then you're like, whoa, Solana, hello. Like what was the grabbing point for that?
Yeah, I mean, I've always just wanted to use and be around the best stuff, right? The tech also primarily, right? So originally when it came out, right, it was still like super early and almost like still proof of concept. And I was just like, cool idea, guys, but like this isn't ready yet. And then I came back and I was like, oh shit, it's working. And it was like way beyond, right? It was just like I've made blockchains too, and it was just like, but like anyone can run a blockchain on their own systems and stuff like that and be like, woo, million TPS, and so like so many people actually started doing that, just not super advertising it like a lot. And so I'm pretty cautious when I go into stuff, but then I still go in deep and heavy and I really push people's buttons and I try and figure things out. And I do my own research, right? And the team was just looking a little stacked and like just pretty brutal. Eventually I was like, okay, this works. I was able to deploy contracts and I was able to mess with the entire ecosystem. And I was like, we got something here. And then I did start helping people in the ecosystem while I was just kind of building things. And I've done trading and all these other things and bots and all that fun stuff. And I was just like, but what I kind of saw was that like, well, first it was in Rust, right, which I learned in a weekend. But like people were having a hard time building on this stuff. Like, and most people that were coming in here, there's a lot of good guys that were just very hesitant and kind of just refused to come into the ecosystem. But all these other folks, most of them were pretty new, even to
Mm.
programming, let alone to blockchain. And so I just started helping out, which was it was different for me to just like selflessly like help so many people. And I just kept doing that while I was building things. And I was just like,
Mm.
yeah, I'm gonna have to get a team together at some point. I'm just not seeing the talent here. So like, but over time they were like, they reached out. Chase actually, Chase Barker, he was one of the early OGs, and he was in Solana early too. And he's just like, hey man, I see you're just like helping people out. Maybe you should like come work here. And I'm just like, no, like not for me really. I don't want to work for anybody. um, but like I don't know what happened. And he was just a cool guy, and the vibe of the people and the ecosystem were just really cool. I got to see some things from the founders, Raj and Anatoly and stuff. And I'm just like, I don't really know why I'm doing this, but I circled back to him and he asked again, and I'm just like, yeah, let's do it. And so I did it unexpectedly and kind of dropped what I was doing, and I just kind of went all in to helping out an ecosystem and a blockchain team, and it was totally unexpected.
From that, I can hear it again. Is you're following whatever is interesting or hot at the time, right? You were just like discovering this new, I guess, a skill for you to be starting to like teach people and share your own knowledge. You're like, whoa, people are actually appreciating what I know, and then to give that back to people, I guess there's like a whole entire flywheel of like, you have to you give out energy and it comes back to you, and like growing ecosystems like that's one thing that I've learned over the past 3 years because I've been traveling very nomadically, and I lost sort of my sense of community throughout all of this because I was changing my environment so rapidly, like very often. And then when I stopped and I started to like give back to all of these founders that I'm talking with, it's like, I don't know, it just sort of fills your soul a little bit more. It makes me feel a little bit less digital, less little transactional, and to see people develop and grow like that, I think it's like a team spirit as well. But I also know that when you are founding a project and to grow your team, you have to have the right people beside you. So I want to know from you as the CEO and founder there, how do you go about curating the best team with the most diverse minds to come together to build your vision? Because I can imagine it's very difficult for you to translate your vision, what you want Dane and Butterfly to become, to get others in your team inspired and wanting to go all in to help you build that. Like, how do you go about orchestrating the perfect team?
Yeah, that was just what you mentioned is really important too, though, right? It's like I've helped out thousands of people before, but most of it was all through like jobs of being a lead, being a CTO, being a manager, all these things, and really just wanting to see my team thrive, right? And so,
Mm,
but in some way or another, I was getting paid or this or that for it. But yeah, this other thing, right? It just became like, and it wasn't just me, right? That was the other thing about kind of Solana. There's like lots of other people like that, right, in the ecosystem, and I think just through lots of us doing stuff like that, like there was that, it's a sense of connection that you mentioned, right? And I think
mm,
people will have still talk about it today, and we'll probably talk about it indefinitely, right? There was just like, if you would say Solana's built different, or it was a way of making connections and building this ecosystem, and it's just something special that it has that no one else yet has that the same way, at least not in the blockchain ecosystems. I've seen some really cool things starting to happen, but like it's special in a different way, right? And like part of that whole process, I think, is also end up being how the team was built, and being able to connect to people in a different way. But I wouldn't have, gone in with this and started this without, like, it is something that was founded like together, right?
mm.
Especially with Ryan and Carlos. We'd been I started an accelerator towards the end of kind of my tenure at Solana, as also kind of a blast out to help people. And during that process, we just kind of started working together more, and we just saw this massive opportunity that combined all these skills that we had. And through that collaboration process and sharing and kind of discovering and working together, I wouldn't have started something like this without starting with a really strong core,
Mm.
and we're just all three technically super sound, ready to go, and we're going to give it our all and dedicate all of our time and effort for the next 5 and 10 years. And that's what I said too. So I was just like, unless we're doing this right for the next 5 or 10 years, like I'm not going to do it. And we all just made that big commitment. I mean, you never know what happens, right? But like it's like pretty incredible so far, and the amount of stuff that even the core team. Oh, we've obviously recruited more engineers and some other folks and stuff like that. And some are great, and others they have to find different paths. But like, yeah, I think what's been built so far is incredible, and it comes through that process of like fighting, understanding, like sharing and caring.
Sharing that unified vision. And I think also what you've just said there, and a lot of founders don't have this mentality, which is blows my mind as well. You literally just said that you're looking at a 5 year, 10 year roadmap, and a lot of founders that I talk to nowadays, they're just about the quickest exit that they possibly can do, using AI to automate things as fast as they possibly can, and just like these get rich quick schemes, launch a token and then out. I think you mentioned to me as well, like you need to have stick at something not just for 30 days but for 6 months. Try something solid for 6 months, and then stare into the skid, like I think it was a book, the founder's habits or whatever it was. It's like, yeah, if you do something for 30 days, you create a habit. But what you're saying is it actually takes 6 months to create those habits. So I want to know, like, around you, like, how have you, like, what structure do you bring in your life to create habits to make sure that you can stay fired, stay creative, stay at the forefront of like being the founder of bringing this whole entire vision to life?
Yeah, I mean, part of I think doing this was also deciding to go all in.
Mm.
And I mean, and I don't do
That's
things.
scary though, right? Going all in on
No,
something?
no, it's the only way to do things. In my opinion, right? Like
No
that's how
plan
I do.
B.
No, it's how I do everything, and that's why I did drop the
Mhm.
stuff I was doing for Solana, because I was going all in. Like I could have done what some other people may or may not have done, right? And like just do five other things. Like you hear the stories about people, having 7 jobs and 10 jobs, and depending on what you're doing or what you're trying to maxing, like great, right? But like we really saw like something strong and interesting here, and it wasn't just about like, oh, a get rich quick or a money thing or whatever. It's like we saw a future for something, right? But like it didn't exist, And it's one of those things where like this is a potential future that like there's only certain people right now that either are available to build it, right, or that even can in the first place, which just means you really want to, right? So we were some of those people, and also why we felt like we were stacked to be able to do it, right, with just a very unique combination of backgrounds to be able to do that. But yeah, the all-in mentality, and that's with like anything, even so much so that like at least right now that'll probably change at some point. I'll put on next year after we hit some more of those goals and milestones. But I'm not doing any hardcore workouts, right, like I used to for the physical stuff. Like everything's like optimized for like focused brain power, right, and that's like combinations and routines and things like that. So like meditation, hydration, electrolyte supplements, things like that. And working 16 plus hour days every day, like 7 days a week,
So
all in.
you're trying to like biologically optimize your body by balancing. Do you wear a Whoop
Blueprints, yeah.
band? Do you wear like a fitness tracker band, or like how do you like track all of this
I
stuff where
mean,
you're
when
just
you
like
know,
no?
No, when you know, you know. It's kind of like it is the funny thing about even like meditation. Oh, how do you know it
Uh,
works, or how do you do it, or it's just like anything working out, right? Like you're not going to get big biceps unless you're doing curls for at least 6 months, but more like 2 or 3 years, right? But like you have to stick with it, otherwise it's not going to work, right?
uh-huh.
And you still have to keep learning, discovering things like that. But like no, I mean, I'm just, jacked on all the time. And then, it's like when I choose, I go to sleep. um, or I basically essentially surrender, right? It's at some
Uh-huh.
point in time, and it could be after 12 hours or 48 hours, right? And it's just like switched on all the time, and but it's all around the like the mission and the vision here, right? And just going
Uh,
at it with like a passion like that, and that's the driving force behind it all. And that's also why for the 5 and 10 year plan, I just don't see like I get rich quick, right? But like that's like if trying to win the lottery, right, every other
uh.
day, and at that it's not very purposeful either, right? So like it seems like a waste of time to me.
So have you gone like full monk mode? Is that what I'm hearing?
I think it depends on your definition of monk mode, but kind of. Maybe. What do you consider monk mode?
I just go like full focus, like removing all of your distractions, like the priority every single day. You've got like three things on your hit list, and all those three things focus around on moving the needle within sort of the Dane butterfly, what your North Star is, right? So every single day you have like three jobs or three lists, three things that you need to do to move the needle more towards your North Star. And your North Star is 5-10 years away. But every single day, like that's your priority. You remove all of the distractions, which I think also when you go into this like founder monk mode, this focus mode where you're like hyper, you just obsessing over like delivering what is in your brain. And you're right, it does like sometimes compromise your health or compromise your relationships or compromise your environment. But if you start to let all of these external influences back into your life, your friend being like, hey, come out for a drink, hey, let's go to a party, hey, let's go down to like the park or whatever it is, all of a sudden you have to prioritize like the social relationship, and or like do I like bust out this new tool on Dane? And it's like, okay, which one's gonna move the needle more towards my North Star? And it's like a mental struggle. I feel like that founders really have to get really good at discipline, right?
Yeah, big time. And so yeah, I don't do any of those things, right? It's just all kind of focused and maxed out on this. And exactly, interestingly enough, what you said, right? And looking for exactly users that think like that and like yourself, right? Kind of, if you would, maybe a little bit maxies in some way or another, whether it's a productivity or a finance or this or that. Even looking to optimize their lives and stuff, and we'll help do that, right, for people. And thinking for the day, the week, the month, the quarter, all that stuff, and like how do I optimize and maximize my time here, right, which is
Mm,
really what it's about. And that's what Butterfly does
I
is
know.
wrap those things up and help you stay organized and prioritize. Like we're building the tools like that for daily life and activity, and for the week and the month, right, and so it can
Mm.
take care of stuff. And I don't want to go look at my emails for hours, and I don't want to sit here and circle. It's fun, but right, TikTok or investments or whatever, and it's just like I'll have it go do it for me and surface the best opportunities, and I just like click approve or something, right? That's what I want.
So you're rapidly trying to build something to get yourself to the level where you can like have more freedom. Is that kind of what you're doing? Like you're like, the faster I
Yeah.
build out Data Butterfly, the better I can go like do whatever the heck I want, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, right? Like, and that's the other thing is too, is when you're recruiting and building a company and finding people and all that stuff too, it's just like, I mean, every founder knows it's like, it's hard, right? Like, there's
Mm,
not everybody out there that's like them. And most of the like thems probably are not exactly even building what they want to build in the first place. It might be to get rich, right? Or get rich quick or whatever. And it's just like, if I can 100x myself, like, to me that would be
mm,
insane, right? I'm always looking for clones of myself that are maybe better or better at something else, right? But yeah, so we're racing to do that and we're getting very close, right? So that is one of the goals. Once I
mm,
can start to essentially, if you would replace those people kind of that don't want to do some of those things anyway, right? Like I like to have someone go and edit and overview and look at some a document or research and then do something and then post it, and just like the physical manual task of doing that, like nobody actually wants to do that. That's just part of what they have to do, is maybe
mm,
part of a creative process or something, right? Like,
mm.
wouldn't you just like all that handled for you? And so that work itself would be replaced, right? But then that person will become way more productive just making great content or having great review process or whatever, unlike whatever the automation's going on or right, whatever the agents are producing. So yeah, that's a big part of the focus, is just like maxing on that and seeing like, hey, if we can get to that really fast, it'll really help us scale faster, which will put us farther ahead and be able to scale and grow faster, right? So it is part of the hustle. There's a massive sense of urgency here. There's definitely other people, right, in the last year that are looking to do these things. And we do want to be the first.
You just mentioned that AI agents can come in there to do the work that we don't want to do, you know, like the editing, the structuring, or just help you out as be your assistant. I also have said to you that agents can never replace human taste and creativity. So you don't agree with this. I want to know why you think that agents can't match human level of like the sort of talent. And like, I thought that was always going to be our edge against AI agents, is that they can't replace us. But you don't agree. I want to know more. Like, what do you see that I don't see?
I mean, like, it's just think about it, right? Like, I mean, AI is already getting pretty good.
Have
It
you seen
creates
the brain rot stuff?
what brain rots. I
Brain
mean,
rot. You gotta type in Italian brain rot into like a prompt, and it's just like the most absurd. It's like when they had the shark with three legs and it was walking down the beach. It's like just stuff that your brain can't even like compute because it's so random. It's so weird. I don't know if that's creative or not.
I think really what it comes down to, right, is about what you actually mentioned earlier, and that's more about human connection.
Mm,
Now, if there's people that care that something is from a human, or something is, if you would say, genuine, or from a human or a human device, or just like whatever, whatever that means, then like, then it's important to them, and then that matters, right? But like, we are going to get to a point, and we're already probably pretty close, where people aren't telling the difference sometimes between what's even
mm,
generated and what's not. And what's generated mean anyway, right? Like as of now, people, like, I've been doing automation and AI for like a decade or plus actually, right? So it's just like, who knew if I coded something or not? Like, who knew if I made a piece of art that was generated? I was making
mm,
dynamic web interfaces, and streaming media interfaces a long time ago, and digital signage and stuff like that. And then, like, who knew that wasn't manually created, right? So, like, what does that
mm,
really mean? People, it is out of fear, right? But there's going to be, virtual podcasters, and there'll be people that care that it's, oh, it is a human there that's podcasting. Oh, that's the real Lex Friedman, or someone. And
mm,
it's just like, but like they'll probably have fun having conversations with themselves too, or something. Like I don't know, but like I think it's already creative. I think it's already creating things. We're having it also create things. I think when humans are important, when the connection's important, when that oversight is, people feel like, required, right? Then it's necessary and needed. But and I don't necessarily know what that means for like the long-term future of that, right? But at least like as far as I see, like that's kind of what's going to happen. Like people are already have, but they'll be falling in love with their digital counterparts or something too, right?
Gets a little bit weird being self-obsessed with your like your double digital.
Well, there's, I mean, but it's a connection's a connection too, right? And then we
True.
get into these interesting areas, right, of like consciousness and life and meaning and all that stuff. And it's just like, well, it's really just about what you care about, and what do you want to connect with, and what does that mean to you, and what is purpose in life and things like that, right? So, yeah, I think they're already creative, and it will in ways like be the same, or it'll just be different, you know?
As long as it's still providing value, I think is the main core around that, right? You don't really care if it's generated by a computer or a human. If you're getting value from it, whether it's entertainment or education
Yeah.
or learning something, for me, actually, AI probably is one of my best friends right now.
Exactly. Exactly. I think people are talking to AI on average, unless they're just refusing to, right? But that's just a limitation they're placing on themselves. Like this is just, it is what it is, but it's evolution, right?
Yeah,
And
but a
like,
thing with AI, wait, I want to understand your opinion on this. The thing when I'm talking with AI or like working with AI, it always conforms. I want it to be more harsh. I want it to be like, tell me like this is wrong. It's always like, oh yeah, that's a great idea, Keira. We didn't think about that. It like conforms to get the easiest answer. I want it to like stress me or challenge me and be like, provide alternative solutions. Like I don't get that.
yeah, I mean, like I actually had a conversation about that the other day, and is part of what we're going to be too doing is, and it is good that we get these confirmations from all these other massive players in the field. But like, you can give it your personality, right? You can give it looks and styles and feels and tone and all these things. But like, one of the things is, and what's happened even in society, right, is like a lot of people been, if you would, so soft on things, and they haven't pushed back, and everything's just okay, right? And it's just like, but that doesn't promote like growth and learning and education almost ever, right? It's almost always from like pain, suffering, disappointment, and all these other things, right? And it's also all a gray area that everybody's kind of still exploring, but that's what I've seen through personal discovery and helping others, right? Is that like people get forced into a corner or talked to a certain way, or it's out of respect for something, or where are those aha moments or magical moments, right, where you're actually like learning, or you're having that creativity or something like that. Like people don't, oh yeah, you're right, oh I was wrong, of course you're right, or stuff like that, right? But if you go experience grok, I don't know if you've done that, but like you might have a different situation on your hands.
Grok is ruthless.
But I mean, so like you can ask for that, right? So it'll be
Yeah.
interesting though, and like we can come out with some defaults, but like that was one of the first things I wanted to do, right? Is just like the goal with the assistant is like it'll be like, yo Donny, like hey, time to get up, bro, like let's go, and be like snooze snooze, and it'll be like, yo, let's get this under control. Like we got this meeting today, we got this deliverable, we got to ship this. I'm like, god damn it, but yeah, all right, chief, because that is me talking to me, right? So, but like people, that can be, right, motivating. It can be inspiring, when there's certain personalities and tones and things that are challenging you, right? Like I think that's a big part of growth. So yeah, I haven't really seen that, right, in that same way yet from a lot of the models, and people are building all these little soft, kind of, if you would, even weak in some cases, like personalities into these things. And I think we're going to see that change, at least for certain apps and models and things like that.
That is cool. I had never really thought of such a like specific or hyper personalized AI agent. Like if I could get like myself yelling at me to get out of bed in the morning, I've
Oh
always thought that
yeah.
I could change my alarm from that really annoying tone like that. But I wanted to do like some sort of like David Goggins or like some sort of motivational thing to get me out of bed. But I haven't got around to that. But if I can get myself yelling at me to get out of bed and tell me to stop being like, snoozing, then maybe there's something there. Maybe it's like a whole entire standalone app, like a customized
Oh
alarm clock.
yeah. No, 100%. Yeah. And there'll be people that want the David Goggins thing, or it'll just be somebody that they'll somehow really respond to. And for some people, it might be like a dog or a cat. Some people, it might be an anime character, right? Other people, it just might be someone they look up to or something,
Oh my
right? And other
God.
people, they just
Yeah.
want, I mean, people pay money to get punished, right? In more ways than one, right? Like usually it's just with like workouts and stuff, but like people respond to different things because even they see that they need it. But it's crazy that at least in today's society, a lot of that like hasn't been happening, and it's just like people have been I don't know, like, kind of just, like, working less and not really figuring out, because it doesn't seem like they're being challenged as much, and they don't have to, like,
Mm,
deal with all these things, right? But, like and they're not forced to, really. It's just like, "Oh, well, okay, that's okay, take all the time you need." And it's just like, I don't believe in that, and I don't think that promotes good habits or good growth, and I don't think that pushes people, which is what they need to grow, right? That's how it works.
mm. Well, most people are fundamentally lazy unless there's something that is wanting or like gravitating them, unless they're hyper obsessed about something. The fundamental excess of human nature is just to take the easiest route, like that's just what it typically is. Anyway, I want to just like touch back on something again. So we're going to have these hyper specific and hyper personalized AI agents that are going to be trained on me, know what time I need to get up, know what tasks I need to be doing, and this is all coming through. I would be using Butterfly to create all of this, right? But for me, how do I know that my information is safe? Does it have to be like, how do I trust the cloud? How do I trust that you guys looking after my information, right? Like, that's also a massive hurdle, I think, that people are going to become more and more aware about moving forward. I think it's still very early on, like data privacy and actually storing all of this information around me. Everything that I type into ChatGPT or whatever LLM I'm using online, that is no longer my information. I'm sorry. I might think like people might think it is, but no, it's not. Like, that's sent off to the private companies. So, and I think moving forward, there's going to be a massive push on, going local and removing yourself away from these cloud-based services to maintain your own privacy. But I want to know, like, what are you guys doing to make sure to give me comfort that my stuff is safe, my information, my data, my personal stuff is safe, especially if you guys are going to be looking in or like helping me out with my financial transactions and my personal information. Like, this is highly sensitive information. So how do you guys give me a little bit of peace of mind?
I mean, just ask you to trust us, right? And then use all the security protocols. Like, here's the thing, and in my opinion, at least, it's all the same but different. Really, like it all works like that now, realistically, right? So, like, does this change anything? Not really. It just
Mm,
changes maybe the amount and access of information, right? So, like, how much more data can we get now? Well, probably a lot, right? And what are you doing with it? That's just like terms and conditions and building trust in a brand, and like,
mm,
yeah, one of the upfront crunches, well, do you trust Claude? Do you trust OpenAI? Do you trust these other brands? And it's just like, it's either yes or no, right? But if you say
mm,
no, but you're still using them, like, what does that really mean? It means you kind of actually do trust them, right? And then it's more about like really what it is about, right? Leaks and things like that, that do happen regardless anyway with almost everybody, right? In some way, shape, or form is what are you getting out of an app or service that you're using, right? And
mm,
do you value that enough to give up certain things in some cases, right? Or not? I think what we're looking to do with this, right, is yes, we'll be able to support, like, say, local knowledge bases, local data stores, and we do have the concept of universal memory, right? So connecting all your memory across all your contexts, across all your data and all your models, but not just
that
what
would be
you put
cool.
into, yeah, not just what you put into the chat or something, right? But like you could literally hook up past data stores and archives and all kinds of things, and you get to connect everything, your past and your future, right? Obviously along with what you're presently doing. And it's just like, I think what you trust is about what you value. And then
Mm,
assuming that like you just, don't have these crazy infiltrations or data leaks, and that just kind of goes with like, cybersecurity and connections and things like that. Like, are you using good practices and secure practices and being proactive about it? The cool part is because of what we're building and things with security backgrounds and things like that, we'll be able to make agents too and services that are proactive and guarding and looking at security, and the security tools will get better too, just like the infiltration tactics are getting better and will get better. Same with cons and phishing and all these other things, but like protection mechanisms can get better.
mm,
And one of the things on our network is to load up with services that can actually, secure and guard and help protect you, right? Including fraud and including transactional fraud, right? For your payments, like stuff like that, is hard to come by right now, and it kind of doesn't exist out there too well. And a lot of it is because of the infrastructure. But we're essentially like rebuilding how we want the internet to work in this aspect, right? In some cases with new protocols, but in most cases, we're taking all the best things and attempting to connect them and make them better and let them all talk to each other, right? So they're like also super aware. But if you want to store your stuff on local, and there happens to be like maybe limitations, like your phone's going to run out of memory, right? It
Mm,
just is. It's not infinite. How would you like leverage that and use that? What's the trade-off in certain things is really what it comes down to.
mm,
But we're also going to let you monetize, your data if you want to do that, right? So like right now, people don't feel like they're in control of their data either, and they just feel like they're also giving it away. But it's
mm,
also really hard to like monetize your data. Like how would most people even do that, right? But if you have your knowledge bases connected, if you have all your data and your histories and things like that connected, and there's services that you're connecting to, and they were like, hey, I need access to this for this service. And you're like, well, okay. But then they're also like, hey, we provide this other service where if we take this and get that information, right, then we can pay you XYZ for it. Would you do that?
mm.
I think some people might. And I think a future of like monetization like that might even be in the future, right? When less people might be working because they maybe don't know what to do or might not. They might be able to make some money or even potentially live off of something like that. Just kind of their data for existing and using things.
I agree so much because when I've been mucking around with like building my own little mini apps, my vibe coding or whatever, the massive challenge that I've come across sometimes is where do I find the data to input into my model, because data is such a scarce and siloed sector out there. It's like, hey, if I want to know about the surf, the waves or the surf at my hometown in the mount and bring that into my local knowledge or whatever, like how do I even find that? Like how do I find that sort of open source information? Or it's like, but if you could have like a marketplace or like a data exchange, I guess you could say, where, even I'm wearing a web band that's like constantly collecting data that I'm trusting and giving to the web company. But like that might be information that could be interesting to, say, my insurance company or for, I don't know, a shoe company or something like that. So like, could you create like this data where all of my data is in like a personalized website, like my own data, Keira data factory, and then I could like monetize that on some sort of data exchange where people can come in and pay me or exchange if they want to know certain things. I don't know. Is that kind of where it's going?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because obviously we're doing blockchain and crypto and stuff like that, right? Like, if you think that any asset is tokenized, right, you could say the same thing about that means anything. That means data. That means data about
Mm,
you. That means multiple different data stores about you, right? So you could take anybody, right, Elon or an investor or somebody at a company or anything, and say they wanted to fractionalize access to their data or different
mm,
parts of their data. That could literally be a market. And if you own a share of that market or that token or that NFT or just whatever you want to call it, you like have the right or the privilege to access either that information or a certain share of that information. And
mm,
like say, oh wow, Elon's really popular and more people want access to his other private data stores that he might not, right, be sharing or giving to everybody. For example, right? As long as you have a share of that or you buy that into that share, right, which may or may not benefit him, then you would have access to that, and you
mm.
could leverage that for whatever you wanted to. It could be sentiment, it could be for a product, it could be for conversation, and people are already doing little things like that already. But like tokenization can apply to anything. Like at that point, when
Tokenization
things are
of humans. Oh my God. You heard it first here. I haven't heard of tokenization of humans.
yeah, well, I mean, I've kind of teased some things about not just that, but like essentially human and agent indexes, right? Where people now have markets and market shares for investing in agents and in services, any kind of assets, because that includes all of it, right? Digitized humans slash agents, your clone, any of those types of things. And people could make pools for those things. They could have individual ones, but it would be no different than just buying or trading or investing in another market or another token or anything like that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty wild, the things that tokenization with access and authorization, right, open up. And that is a big part of what we're building in terms of the platform and the network, is that if you can tokenize anything and you have identity, and you place authorization behind those things, which means access to services and data, right, then you can literally buy, trade, and sell anything. And there's a market for anything and the potential for any of those things. So part of the first things that we're doing is we have all the DeFi primitives, right, in place, starting with Solana and then AnyChain, of course. And then what happens is you basically buy, sell, trade access to any product, any service, and you can create new ones on the fly. Create entire new markets with new interfaces, with new protocols, basically as fast as you can type or say
Oh
it.
my God.
You know,
I
hey, like
am very
we're gonna we're gonna create a prediction market. We're gonna bet, and I'm gonna create an app whether or not Keira is gonna get up in the next 2 hours. Right? It'll go up. It'll be live. It'll go viral, right? If Kira wants, she gives access, to her devices or whatever, and then all of a sudden, and it can be verified and proved, right? Especially if she opts in, right? And then that'll happen, go live, and it can all be as shares and close out like a live dynamic prediction market that you could even leverage. Right. And then it happens or it doesn't and becomes verified, proved, done, market's over, and people probably made or lost money on it, and then it's gone, and you could just do it again with anything whenever you want it.
That is exciting. It sounds like it's I can't remember the name of the movie, but it sounds like there was like a movie where they were talking about automation and everyone was like fighting to do the games and everything was like, oh, I can't even remember it. I'm gonna like go off on a tangent on this trying to remember it, but sounds like I'm living in the future by what you just said.
Yeah, well, think about it, just what you said with the data though, right? Like if you gave access to your data and your device for someone to be able to do that, maybe because they know how to set it up or they know how to prompt it or they know what to do and you trust them or whatever, right? And they're like, hey, we just created this market, we created this bet because you had a crazy night last night. We don't know when you're going to get up or whatever. But you gave access to your data, and guess what happened as part of that market? You made money no matter what, because it was your data and about you and access to your market and maybe your device or connection or something, right? So even what we just talked about, we just created, made up a product for that and tokenized it and created a live, right, interface that would be able to be created, right, through Butterfly and through Dane on the Dane network that is not even possible anywhere else right now. Right. But those are the types, that's just one thing. Right. And yeah, so saying anything and everything is obviously too big and crazy of a scope, but like, that's why we are trying to work on, right, some of these bigger use cases and what people are excited about. But if we can make it so people can just come up with that, with these primitives, like that's going to be wild.
Well, that's the cool thing about being a founder and actually building the infrastructure, building the network, building the platform. You're literally just building all of these tools to give the whole entire 8 billion, I don't know what the global population is right now, maybe it's 9 billion, but you're giving these tools to people like myself as an engineer or a kid down the street or whatever to actually start to tinker and play with what is available and start creating new apps or new applications to make money, to monetize themselves, to monetize like the future, to monetize like there's so many different things. I don't think that we can even see what's going to happen because I think even we've seen within vibe coding, the stuff that the way that people are now coding is a lot different to say that it was 10 years ago because you're able to use native language to interact and to make that interface. And I think what you're talking about there is moving forward is that now people can talk, interact, and create just as easy as clipping their fingers. And now they're going to be integrating that into real life situations and monetizing that through Dane and Butterfly. Like, it's going to be very exciting, and I'm sure also like massively for you because you've built all of this infrastructure and this is your baby, this is your child, right? And then people start using it and making money off it. It's like it's a massive domino effect, and I feel like you're just coming to the start of this domino effect, right? You've been building for so long, and now you're starting to show people and starting to let people be entertained and come in and try with Dane. So I want to know, like, what has been, I guess, your struggle over the past times of being a founder? What's some alpha that we can sort of wrap this up on that people don't really think about how difficult it is to start out, to go out on your own, to back yourself, to really believe that you can create something that is going to be so disruptive? Like, how have you found this journey? Any alpha, any lessons that you can share to anybody else starting out on their own journey right now?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it has to do with some of the things that we talked about earlier, right? And that's just about going all in. But you
Mm,
you need something to go all in on, right? And that has to do with some of the other things, right? Like if it's a get rich quick and all those things, like I mean, as exciting as it sounds, right? Like money isn't the end all be all, and unfortunately, it doesn't really actually drive the majority of people the way they think it will, right? Like it is literally what most investing in sales is driven around, but there's a lot of other aspects that go along with it, right? But when you're building something, right, what is the future of that? What's driving that? What is the purpose of that? Is it some problem that you're intimate with or really have good knowledge about? Is it just opportunity based? What's behind it, right? And so, like, kind of choosing that thing, right? That idea, that product, is really a big part of going all in and then really committing to it. Like you said, and you have to really want it, right?
but you kind of know in your vision, like, when did you start with Dane? Like, how long ago did you start building? And has the vision changed, or was the vision so clear when when you went all in, or have you sort of like ducked and dived in between?
I mean, the vision and overall mission was super clear. It was
Okay.
really seeing what the future looked like, right? And really visualizing that. What changes is the details, and how exactly that you get there.
Mm,
But and how I've done things too is it's just kind of being open to the journey, right? And always continuously like finding the path there, right? Like always trying to go with the flow as much as possible. Stay aware, right? Ride the waves and choose the waves, right? To ride. And it's just like you don't want to keep, going against the waves and the tide and going out to sea. You'll get
mm,
lost and probably drown, right? Like yeah, it's about going with the flow and really making the good choices and trying to adapt along the way and being open to what that journey is and trying to enjoy it, right? As
mm.
much as possible. And that's a big part of also staying motivated. Like, yeah, I continuously hear about burnout and stuff like that too. And, team members do get burnout from time to time. And then you gotta, you have to, how do you relight sparks, right? How do you reignite
Mm.
things?
How do you do it? Like, what do you do to get the
Every
creativity
day.
back?
I'm every day I do it, it's just my
Monk mode.
routines. Yeah, well, the routines are built like that, but it could be incorporating other things. I'm just choosing not to right now, right? It's just you have to find how you want to live in life, and you
Mm.
have to incorporate that into things. If you're literally just sacrificing and going the other way to give everything up and just go build something, like you should have a damn good reason to do it, right? But
You still gotta
for me,
live.
I don't look at it like, I could be producing music or playing instruments or, building something else or building games or doing VR, all these other things too. Right. But like my problem is I have so many things I want to do. Like I have to choose which ones I do want to do. And then I
Mhm.
go all in and focus as much as possible because I know that's the way that you really come out with like gems and gold and stuff like that. Right. Like, that's where you come out with really good stuff, to you. And so that's where the kind of dedication and focus, and that's from repeatedly doing things like that and figuring out that that's the best way that I like to do things and that I see other people doing things, right? And how I see other founders, other entrepreneurs, and leaders doing things as well. And it makes sense and it works for me, right? And how else could
Mm.
I do this like every day for years on end, right? Like, yeah, I don't see a whole lot of other people doing it like that. I don't take vacations.
No, no, I think that's what you're saying. It's like, yeah, you're passionate about it. There's nothing else that you want to do more than this. And I think having that drive behind you, when you just know that there's an itch that you need to scratch and you just need to go all in on that scratch, like, and having distractions around that is just losing your path, I think. So I've sort of kind of come around to this sort of similar situation. You know, you need to be focusing on what you're doing, remove distractions, and really just back yourself at the end of the day. Because if you don't do it, no one else is going to do it for you. Is what I think it comes down to. And you got to like, for people that might be humming and hawing to go out there and actually do something, it's like waiting for the right moment, waiting for the right person to say something, or waiting for your bank account to be at a certain level, or whatever it is. But like, stop waiting and just start doing. Actions speak so much louder than words. It's something that I've like come to ingrain into my soul, with relationships, with work, with everything. But like, actions do speak louder than your words, because so many people are like BS artists out there. They talk, they don't act, and it's like, okay, just do what you're going to say you're going to do, and that is like better than most people, because a lot of people just like to talk about fluff and everything. But that's more about my own journey. So back to you. But I want to go to wrap this up. Wait, there's actually two things I want to do before we wrap this up. At the beginning, I really wanted to ask you some icebreaker questions. These are just like 5 super quick questions that you should be able to answer within like 5 seconds. And they were meant to be so the audience can get to know you. But I feel like right now the audience might already know you a little bit better. But I wrote these like a week ago. And I think the first one, I need to look back on it. But so 5 quick questions for you, Donny. Socks and sandals, yes and or no? Do you wear socks and sandals?
I guess, is it a question if I wear both, or I mean,
No,
I'll
like,
do
can you wear them together? Like, is it a fashion crime or
no,
not?
yeah, no, it's not for me.
What about oh yeah, I like to ask this one. Name Dane in 3 emojis.
Dane and 3 emojis. Well, the butterfly emoji, right, that we
Yeah, of
have.
course.
Explosion face, whatever that one's called.
The one with the head
Um,
exploding?
I think so.
Okay.
Like, yeah, yeah. And maybe lightning bolt.
Oh, yes. Nice. Okay. I found the questions now. Oh yeah, what's your late what's your late night?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really much of a snacker. Electrolytes. I don't know.
Electrolytes. Oh my god. What about, okay, sweet or savory person? You know, if you gotta choose a snack.
I mean, probably like some, yeah, dark chocolate or something.
Okay, all right. You're all right, what else we got? Oh yeah, this is a random one. So if Satoshi Nakamoto texts you right now, what would you reply back to him or her or it? I don't know.
Um, hey.
Donnie, you're not giving me much to work with. All right, you should be good at this. You get to choose between a cyber motorbike or a cyber helicopter to commute to work every day. What are you taking?
I mean, I'd want to put them together. Probably have to go helicopter as much as I'd want the bike. It's just faster.
Okay, cool. All right, and last one. I think I probably asked way more now, but I lost track. Oh yeah, this is actually quite an interesting one. So, are you more of an ocean person, a lake person, or a mountain person? If you got to choose a retreat,
I mean, definitely an ocean. Yeah.
ocean. Nice, very good, very good. Well, I'm going to wrap this up. We've been talking for like an hour and 20 minutes now. So, but before we leave, I want to know for you, if you got to cast your sights back into 17-year-old Donny, what words are you going to tell him today? What's your message to him?
Yeah, probably some of the things that we talked about and just how optimize routines and stuff like that. Like,
Mm.
think long term, have that, 3, 5, 10-year vision plan. Really think about what you want to do and about the future, and gains compound whatever they are, right? Like, stick to things, commit to things, good habits, right? Hit hard. You can reprogram yourself, being probably the biggest thing that goes together with that, right? Like,
Mm.
we can all change, we can all reprogram ourselves, and that's how we grow and learn. And you're not stuck with what you have. You can literally rebuild yourself into anything that you want.
That's so inspiring. You can constantly rebuild yourself. And I think you just need to put yourself into the right environment and have
Yep.
the tools to be able to do that as well. But with the power of the internet and also with AI and what you guys are building there with Dane and Butterfly, is going to unlock a lot of opportunities for anybody with any ideas to come in and start tinkering. So, how do people follow along with you and your updates and just make sure that they're not missing a beat around anything that you guys are putting out?
Yeah, it's what it's all about. I mean, Dane Protocol on X, Donny Solana on X, and then we have, Dane.org and futurebutterflyapp.com.
Cool. And is there a wait list that we can sign up to?
That's where the wait list is.
Hold
Dane.org and
on.
butterflyapp.com. That's where you can sign up, and we'll do some early outreach. But yeah, feel free to DM me, especially on X, and we'll definitely get back to you and respond if you feel like this is for you. You want to be an early tester and you want to help shape this future, and really get shit done. Like, that's what we're here to do. That's what we're about. So DM me. Let's get together if you want to sign up early, and let's go.
Cool. All right. Thank you so much for that, Donny. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and thanks for all of the insight and alpha.
Cool. Thanks, Keira. Ciao.